We want to talk about APYs, and then we'll also talk about payday loans, but first APYs. APYs are annual percentage yields. Remember, yield is what you get in return or you get back. Like if you have a big yield from a harvest, it means you were able to harvest a lot of crops. Annual percentage yield is how much you'll get back when you deposit money to gain interest. So the annual percentage yield is just a standardized way to compare accounts. When you have, as we've already learned, you could have continuous compounding or any of the many general compounding types or even simple interest. And it's really hard to tell which one is going to give you the best return if you have slightly different interest rates and different lengths of time and so forth that you're investing money. So what we want is a way to compare all those accounts where we know that we're talking about the same values. Okay, and we have the general compounding formula has its own APY calculation, and then the continuous compounding formula has its own APY calculation. And you can find the APY if you have a simple interest account, but it really just comes out to the exact same as the simple interest rate. So we might just write that off to the side. So whatever your R is, that would be your APY for a simple interest account. But for these other types of accounts, that's not true, and you need to use this formula. And what you're finding is a percent, just like our rates are given to us in our problems. They're not shown as decimal form, they're shown as percent form. And so that explains why we have a times 100 at the end of each. That turns it from a decimal into a percent. And then you can see this part looks very familiar if you think about the general compounding formula, because you have that 1 plus r over n to the nt power. And we're thinking about for the APYs, just so you know kind of where they came from, we think about the PV we set equal to 1 and the T we set equal to 1, and then we plug them into the formula. And then this subtracting 1 is taking off the $1 that we started with and looking at just what interest is left over. So you can follow that formula to the letter and you don't have to remember all of this that we're doing here, but it sometimes is helpful for your learning if you can see where it kind of came from. So this 1 plus r over n to the n comes from our general compounding formula. And down here, we see the e to the r, which is just like our continuous compounding formula. Remember, it was e to the rt. T is going to be set to 1, so it's just e to the r. Subtract off that 1 that you had at the beginning, and then multiply by 100 to turn it into a percent. So pretty straightforward, the two formulas. Let's take a look. Compare these investments using APYs to see which account will earn the most money. The first one I'll do with you, and then I want you to try a few and then compare your answers to me. So we have 5.6% APR, so the R, remember that's a rate, compounded daily. Daily means my N has to be 365. Back here, this APR, percent APR, means my R has to be 0.056. Remember, you can always use the 5.6 and then the percent sign in this formula or any formula. If I want the APY, it says compounded daily. That daily tells me I need the general compounding formula. Okay, compounded daily, those two together. So my APY equals 1 plus, and I'm just going to plug in my formula values because I don't have space to write it out and plug in and solve. So I'll do the 0.056 for the R over the N, which was 365, and then I have a parenthesis raised to the 365 minus 1, and then the big square brackets times 100. Those square brackets are just like the rounded parentheses. I just use them to kind of distinguish between this set and the outer set so that you don't get confused where one starts and one ends, but they're equivalent. They both are just parentheses. So here we have Inside my big parentheses, I'm going to start there, and then inside there, I need to start right here inside the little set of parentheses. I don't have a multiply to do on the exponent. It's already just a 365, so I'll go ahead and do the 0.056 divided by 365. Then I'll add the 1, and then I'll take it to the power of 365, and then I'll subtract the 1, and then finally multiply by 100. So starting here, I have 0.056 divided by 365. I'm going to do an equals, and I get that value plus 1 equals. So now I have 1.000153, and it goes on to the 365. Forgot where I was. So I'll use my to the button, to the 365 equals. So now I've done all of this from here to here. And now I just have to subtract this 1. So minus 1 equals, and then finally multiply by 100. And I end up with this decimal value. It is 5.7593, and then there's a 1 following, so I'm going to leave it as a 3% APY. So when you do these, I really like to have 4 decimal places and then percent APY written out so that you know it's not a rate, it's a yield, because this is the standardized number and this is the number that goes with compounded daily. Okay, go ahead and try 1, 2, 3 of these problems and then check back and see how you did.